friendly neighborhood weirdo, Rita and Perez, host of this amazing strategic travel entrepreneur podcast. I don't know about you, but clearly I am missing the Olympics and hearing the music pop on my TV every now and then. The Olympics closing ceremony just happened this past Sunday. And this week when it came back to like TV, because there's some kind of like shows that I'm watching on a regular basis, but I'm like, what am I supposed to do with life? Like there's no gymnastics or track or swimming or even breakdancing to keep me occupied anymore. So if you are kind of feeling very similar, because I've had so many different Olympics conversations with all of you, hopefully you are in for such a treat with this episode, because I think it's been a while since I've done kind of like a real life news story comparison to business episode. The last one actually may have been last year with the Barbie movie phenomenon last year. But with everything, there is a lesson to be learned. And even before I get into the Olympics stuff, I wrote down, and this is something that I need to think about and talk on or talk with more of you about, is I saw somebody earlier today, and I've seen a couple different posts like this that go on talking about like what are the benefits of working with a travel advisor. And this makes sense of like you posting information about this, because people need to know that one, travel advisors are still out there and that you can still use them and what exactly their job position is. But no one asks people like, why should I hire a plumber? Nobody asks why I should hire a doctor. Nobody asks like, why should I hire a real estate or a realtor, a broker? So why do we have to keep justifying ourselves as to why you should work with us? And that's why I'm like, I feel like this is a bigger question and a bigger topic of discussion. So I just want to put it out there. Feel free to text me. There's that link in the show description that you can text me your thoughts on this topic. But why do we have to keep justifying ourselves? Because like if I look at other professionals, like I follow some therapists, I follow some doctors and surgeons, I follow holistic practitioners. They don't have any posts on their social media feeds that say why you should work with them. And I think a lot of that is because they are so generous and like giving and open on like what they do, that you don't have, like, people aren't going to have that question. It just becomes a natural fit that like, of course I'm going to work with so-and-so for this thing because I already see like the goods to back up what they're saying. And like, it's almost like their social media is like their resume or their experience builder and all that why would that be a natural question? But I think like just in regular conversation, if I was meeting with like a mechanic, I'm not going to be like, so why should I even like work with you? What are the benefits of working with a mechanic? The benefits of working with a mechanic are, I don't know cars. I don't know how anything works. Well, I know some things, but I don't know like that this is connected to that. And because this didn't happen, like this is why this is broken. That's the same thing like with doctors. Like if you're going to cut me open, like I know you have degrees and you have medical licenses and you're with an accredited hospital and all that. So I'm going to put my faith and trust in you that you know what you're talking about. And of course, I'm going to like meet with you beforehand to make sure that I'm comfortable with you. But like, I don't think I've ever said to any other service provider, what are the benefits of working with you as opposed to not working with you? Because we automatically know that. So why do we have to keep justifying it? Okay, that was like a big long Rita's rant. So I'm putting it out there. I want to hear your feedback on that. Like, what are your thoughts? So shoot me a text or send me a DM so that we can get to the bottom of this and how we can like reframe marketing from like rethinking that like that we have to keep justifying ourselves. Okay, so business lessons from the Olympics. And so I numbered these. I have them in my little notes app here on my phone because I wanted to make sure that, we're a little bit concise because, I can get off into tangents just like I did. But one of the beautiful things, and this is not one of the numbers, there's 7 things that I have, but one of the beautiful things from the Olympics was just the teamwork and the team effort, the camaraderie. And it wasn't just of people like on the same teams or same countries. It was across everything. And I'm like, I wish more people, especially in business, like operated like this and saw this, that yes, we are all competitors in some way, but we are so much stronger together and working with each other to see like what goals we can accomplish. And we all have a different viewpoint. And that's what makes us individually amazing, that we do things a little differently. We see things a little differently. We train a little bit different. And that background, kind of like when you're on this very public arena, really shows out. And I'm like, this was just, I don't know, like there were just so much amazing things. One, that there was gender, I think the right word is gender parity, meaning that there were an equal amount of genders, like it was equally balanced, where usually the Olympics has been very male heavy since like the beginning of the Olympics. We actually had like a 50-50 or very close to a 50-50 split. Go the women of the United States team, who brought, I believe it was over 60% of the gold medals back. So as a female myself, I have to be like, that is pretty flippin' fantastic. So gushing over that. So outside of just the good vibes and the good feels, and I don't know about you, but there were a lot of times that I was holding my breath or pausing to be like, what is about to happen? But I think, especially like I have a lot of gymnastics because I love watching gymnastics. So there's a lot of gymnastics, examples that serve as really great lessons that you can take into your business. And these are in no particular order. It's just randomly how I saw it or how they came into me. So number 1 of 7, remember I've got 7 here. Sometimes you need a coach to advocate for you. And I am talking about Jordan Childs and that situation, which when I originally wrote this list, there wasn't so much controversy. And now there's a lot of controversy because you've most likely heard that they are forcing her to give back that bronze medal. But when I mean a coach advocating for you, sometimes there's a lot of us who are like, okay, well, I did my best. I did what I could. You need to have an outside set of eyes or ears to be like, no. Like, you did amazing. You did fantastic. And maybe you aren't going to say anything, but they certainly are for you. And these are the people that you want in your corner, because it's not necessarily even that it has to be a coach. It needs to be peers. It needs to be mentors. It needs to be referral partners. And so who are these people that, because I think about it all the time, that it's like you want to make really great connections with other people, not only, as a revenue generating type thing, but who is going to talk about you and for you and in your best interest when you are not in that particular room. So a really great example of this was a journalist within the industry was writing. Many of you have probably seen that there was Travel Market Report wrote an article about top Facebook groups in the industry, came to me asking me if I had a top Facebook group. And, in full transparency, I have a Facebook group, but I don't think it's a top one because that really hasn't been a focus of mine. So I didn't feel right putting my name out there in this list if there were lots of other groups that I thought did amazingly well within the industry. And so some of those groups I pitched, and the reporter had not heard of one of the groups that I pitched and ended up adding that group into the report. That's what I'm talking about here. It is about making these connections. Like, this didn't benefit me, but this benefited another amazing person that does amazing work within this industry. We have to be that for each other. We have to be that for our fellow business owner. We have to be the cheerleaders, the advocates, because sometimes it's really hard for us to be our own advocates. I know for myself too, I will root and cheer and holler and be like, oh my gosh, this person is so amazing. And it is sometimes very hard for me to be like, and I'm amazing because of X, Y, Z. I could tell you some amazing things, but and this is just my nature. I am very much more modest. And I know many of us are very similar in that if it's not, I'm not even sure if modesty is the right word, but I'm getting deep here, because that wasn't a big thing, especially like me growing up in my childhood. It wasn't a lot of being built up. A lot of like my fortitude is because I was ringed in, like, that's not good enough. You're not doing something good enough. You could do better, which I think serves a purpose, but I mean, it'd be interesting to see, like, on an alternate, like, timeline, what my life would have been like if I was constantly built up and constantly, like, advocated for. So if you don't, and this was like a really great quote that I recently heard that had nothing to do with this advocacy, but it's kind of like, if you don't have an advocate in your corner, then you need to be the advocate for other people in their corner. Sorry, mess words. And that is like, it's pretty much putting out the good fortune, the good juju, the good vibes, so that it reverberates back to you at some point. Because what I'm noticing in a lot of business is sometimes you have to put out a lot first and make the first effort for it to come back to you, especially when we're talking about like trust factor. So sometimes you do need an advocate, a coach, to advocate for yourself. Number 2 business lesson that came up from the Olympics. I don't want to say I learned from the Olympics, because I feel like I knew some of these things. I just thought it was interesting how in this environment they kind of were nice, like, gentle reminders on things. So competition makes you better and should be celebrated. So I go back to thinking about gymnastics, the final floor, and we have Simone Biles, we have Rebecca Andrade from Brazil, and then we also have Jordan Childs. Simone and Jordan are both from the US. And Rebecca Andrade, I think this was her only solo gold. And like the team, I think they got silver or bronze. But the way that Simone and Jordan celebrated Rebecca for winning the gold, because they knew that she earned it. There was like no harsh feelings that she won out. It was just like the most beautiful sight, and you can kind of see them doing like this playful bowing to like the amazing performance that she just had as a floor routine. So competition makes you better in a couple of different ways. It makes, like, I feel like competition can sometimes be like an incentivizer to being a better person, better business owner. I feel like the best example of this in the travel industry is right now in the tech realm, because we have the 3 biggest tech giants within the industry really vying for everybody's attention. And what I like about it, because again, I'm going to echo Corinne from Travel Biz Boss's sentiments, is that it doesn't mean that you have to, like, one is better than the other. They all have different features, and it's really going to be a case of what works best for you and your brain and how you operate, how your team operates and all that. So, but a lot of the innovations that we now have really weren't possible or happening because we didn't have this new competitor on the scene really lighting a fire under everyone's booty. And I feel like that is what Rebecca was to Simone. And I love the graciousness that Simone knew. Like, I performed the best I could in this moment, but this other person rocked it out. And instead of like tearing Rebecca down, just lifting Rebecca even higher. If only we could do that in real life, and especially in this business life, instead of tearing each other down and criticizing other business owners. They don't do this, they don't do that, I do this so much better. You might, and they might, and all that. But if we look at competition through the lens of it is information to guide us in making our decisions, that competition is really, okay, so they're doing this amazing thing and people are liking it. Like, how can I tweak? How can I adapt? How can I improve what I'm currently doing to be on par with what my competition is doing? And I'm not saying like we have to copy our competition. I'm just saying, what can you do to be the better version of yourself? Because it kind of goes along with my point 3. What I noticed about these Olympics is that what you're really competing for is somebody else's opinion of your performance, which can be accurate. It can be not accurate. So when I think about this too, I also thought about, like, none of those gymnasts were saying I have to do X, Y, Z better than this other person. When I looked at track, nobody was looking at each other in the other lanes. They were looking solely in their lanes. Maybe they had a side eye here or there, but they were looking in their lane to keep like the focus forward on them and what they had to do to accomplish their goal. Similarly, in the swimming races, I didn't see people like looking in the other lanes to see like, okay, where's that person at? Where's that? Do I need to do better? It was really like everybody was competing on their own. And certain things like time scores are pretty easy to judge because time is going to say like you either made this time or you didn't make this time. But when we're speaking specifically on Olympics, it is very judgmental based on like what the judges perceive. And so you can do your best and you should do your best, but I think even more important is staying true to yourself, like doing your best while doing it your own way. Because you can copy how somebody does something, but that's their way. It's not your way. So pretty much like the overall is and we're going to come back to this one again in another one, like be okay with marching to the beat of your drum. Be okay with putting those blinders on. It doesn't matter what the other person is doing. It matters what you're doing. And in fact, it will sidetrack you if you start thinking about all the other things the other person is doing. I feel like this is also a muscle that you have to train yourself. It does take time because I know like when I first started in business, very much comparisonitis, and I'm definitely not saying that I don't get it because I definitely do still get it now, but it's a little bit more or less, especially like I got an email from someone who I might consider like one of my competitors earlier today. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, I already have this trajectory. There's a lot of stuff that's on my plate because I'm going to toot my own horn. I have a lot of amazing things to give and offer and impact your travel businesses later this year. Many of you, if you've been in my world, you kind of know all the different events that happen in the fall between Prep for a Wave Week, Plan Your Year Session, Travel Industry Black Friday. Like this period is my Super Bowl. So while I know there's a lot of other educators, coaches, mentors that are doing amazing things in this industry, I can't like keep my eye on them and be like, oh my gosh, they're doing this thing, I should do this thing. I am focused on like the train is in station and we're heading on to the next route. Like my blinders are full speed ahead. Like I cannot focus on what anybody else is doing because I know what I have to put out there is so valuable and has changed people's businesses and how they plan their businesses for the new year, that I'm like, we can't be in this like because I feel like when you get into there, you start doubting it and you start questioning yourself, and you don't want to stay in that place. Like, maybe experience it for a couple minutes, a couple hours, do something fun to get you out of the funk, and then like stay the course, because you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what's going to help you to be successful. You don't have to be sidetracked by what some potential competitors may be doing. Which kind of leads to number 4. So I'm glad kind of they're leading each other here. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. And that is just a fact of life that we also have to remember in business. Sometimes an idea is brilliant, takes traction, but then quickly dies. That has happened to me often. Sometimes an idea takes traction and takes off and flies. Sometimes an idea doesn't take traction. Sometimes it stalls. Like, you just never know. The important part is, especially in business, take the chance, take the risk, take the opportunity, because you don't know what is going to happen on the other side unless you put those brave underwears on and experience it for yourself. So you have to be, I don't know how many times I've said this, you have to be you have to be comfortable getting uncomfortable. That is the only way you're going to be able to have breakthroughs in your business. See what actually works for your business and figure out also what doesn't work, because don't you want to be doing more of what works and less of what doesn't? But you have to be experimenting, and you have to also give time, because sometimes you think things aren't working and you just need a couple more follow-ups to make things work. So never lose out on the hope or the dream, whatever it is your dream is within this travel business and the travel business. You're going to have really high days, like when Simone won a gold, and you're going to have really low days when Simone did not place in any of the gold, silver, bronze placements. If you saw that the finals for beam performance in gymnastics, nearly every single competitor fell off that beam. And I believe it was the 3 that didn't fall off that beam that ended up winning one of the medals. And so it happens to everybody. There are certain circumstances where we flourish. There's certain circumstances where we don't. So the important part is you pick yourself back up again, especially after you've fallen off the beam, and you go perform a really kick butt floor routine to get you back on track, because that's what you love even more, or whatever it might be, whatever your beam and your floor routine. Beam meaning you've fallen off, and floor routine meaning you do absolutely fantastic. Because this can even be like, if we're really thinking about travel business, your beam could be cruises. You absolutely loathe doing cruises, but your floor is FIT Africa, and you just shine, and your spirit and you show up just so fantastically, because FIT Europe is the language that you want to be speaking every single day. Whereas cruises really take out all the energy. Some of you may have like had the hairs in your back like spiked up with goosebumps, because you're like, oh, I don't want to do that either. So pick what's your beam and what's your floor. And I want to hear. I want to get some insights. Let me know, what is your beam and what's your floor? Number 5 lesson. Little mistakes can cost you big time. So I know I just told you, like, be okay with making mistakes, but you have to have like a little notice on, like, yes, it is okay to make mistakes, but you also have to be okay. Like, if that mistake is going to cost you, this is a common thing that I've heard, especially with newbie travel advisors, when you are booking group contracts and there's that attrition period, and you did not know about or were not aware of this attrition period, and now you owe tens of thousands of dollars to a resort because you promised to sell X amount of rooms, and there's no way out of that. So you have to be like meticulous and certain. That's a certain big thing. You need to be meticulous. When I'm thinking about the Olympics, I'm thinking about that swimmer who was swimming, I think it was like a breaststroke competition, or maybe it was a backstroke competition, and she switched to the breaststroke as she was like turning to start another lap. That cost her a medal. It disqualified her from the competition. And so it really, really stings, but you know what? I bet she will never make that mistake ever again. So that is the hard blessing that comes out of things like that, is that you have to like cross your T's, dot your I's. And especially when it comes to like legalities and things within the business, like those are the ones that you want to not try out and test out things, but you do want to test out and try out things otherwise in your businesses. So just keeping an eye that little mistakes can cost you big sometimes. Number 6, keep it simple. And just do it. And I didn't watch this competition, but I heard so many things about it. It was a shooting competition where the competitor who was favored had all this equipment ready to go, didn't do as well as they thought, and this other competitor just shot the gun. Did spectacularly. I believe he placed, may have won gold or something. And so this is like the KISS principle. Keep it simple, silly or stupid. I grew up with keep it simple, stupid. Like sometimes you don't need all of the fluff. And I think like that's what holds us back sometimes. Like we think we need X and Y and Z and ABC and everything in between to be successful. But really what you need to be successful is confidence, whether that's learned, whether that's fake, whether that's confidence that you've built up. You need confidence in yourself. You need confidence in what you're offering, and you need to deliver a really great experience to your clients. Those are the 3 keys. Like, especially if I'm going like as simple as a grocery store, the grocery store needs to be open. The grocery store needs to have product, and the grocery store needs to give me a really great experience for me to want to go back to that grocery store. It doesn't have to be complicated. Like when I'm talking about complicated and all that, like I'm thinking websites, social media campaigns, buying this fancy equipment, that fancy equipment. Now, it does make things a lot easier when there's certain fancy equipment, because I do like the self-checkout. I do like being able to scan, because it would probably be a lot harder if we think back to even like the 80s, the 50s, when we didn't even have like credit cards available and everything like was either cash or check system, and having to write things like how much longer did groceries take back then, even like before calculators. And I'm sure like at some point you weren't even like really going to a grocery store because you were growing your food in your backyard and all that. But that's to say like there are certain things that can make the experience a little bit better, but also keep it simple. Don't overthink it, because the simplest route is going to get you to the results that you desire. And I will say, like just real world experience for myself recently is that I have been promoting partnership packages for Prep for Wave Week. I have mentioned it a couple times via social media. I haven't secured any partnerships because of social media. All of the partnerships that I've secured are because I reached out to people individually. I had the conversation. I said, hey, I have this opportunity available. Let me know if this is something of interest to you, and I can send you more information. So another testament there too that social media has its purpose, but sales is a little bit harder. It's like sales, especially for high-end sales, that one-on-one people-to-people interaction is going to be huge. So that's number 6. Keep it simple. Just do it and keep the blinders on. Like, just look straight ahead and pay attention to yourself. And then the last one I had to add, because for the first time ever, there was breaking, or better known as what many of us know, breakdancing involved. And man, I feel so bad because this person is now receiving like a lot of online bullying, and she's addressed it. And so I feel bad in a sense, but there was this breakdancer named is Ray, or goes by Reagan, and her performance was pretty unexpected for what I would personally anticipate a breakdancer. But she was super confident in herself. She didn't care if she was doing this or that. She went out there with full confidence and performed. I just felt really bad because she got absolutely no points. And now she's being dogged all over the internet and social media. So I don't want to like keep that negativity around there, but I do want you to like look at this as an example. If you think you're unqualified or you think you can't do something, because I know like that holds us back. Like we think we can't pitch something because we don't have X. We think we can't talk to somebody because we don't have the experience. We think we can't charter a ship because we've never done it before. Do it anyways. Attempt to do it anyways. Because what you may think is not what is actually happening as well. Oops, I'm like hitting everything today. And like one of the really great examples, and this is a gendered example, so men, please don't take this. You probably know this about yourselves as well. I will never forget when I heard a couple years ago that men will apply for jobs they're not qualified for because they know with what qualifications, the minimum they have, they can accomplish what is necessary for that higher end position. Women will not do that. Women need to make sure that the entire list, they have everything on the list, or they will not apply for that. So going with this in mind, and I don't gender doesn't even have to be a factor in here. It was for that specific example. If you don't think you can do something, or if you don't think you should do something, do it anyways, because you never know what the outcome can be. And I hope for a really positive outcome for you, and that it doesn't become like this ray gun situation that's happening right now. But I mean, and I feel like I've mentioned this before, do it anyways, do it scared. The point is of everything that you are doing something. So to recap some of the business lessons that were enlightened to me again from the Olympics is sometimes you need to have a coach or somebody in your corner to advocate for you. Competition makes you better, and it should be celebrated. What you're really competing for is someone else's opinion. So at the end of the day, it's really important to just be yourself. Sometimes you win and other times you lose. Little mistakes can cost you big time. Keep it simple. Just do it and look straight ahead. And even if you think you're unqualified for something, do it anyways, because you have no idea what the results are at the end of the road. So this is the end of the road of this podcast. If you would like to stay in my world, you kind of like my vibe, I highly encourage you to join us for the Marketing Business School trial that is happening in September. It's the first time I've ever done this. So I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go, but I am going to do it scared. I'm not really scared about doing it, but I am going to do it anyways because I want to experiment and see how this works. And then I also want to get feedback from people who are not currently in Marketing Business School as to what other things we can do fabulously to help you Like, really, my goal is to give you practical, helpful, useful advice to get you feeling more confident in your travel business and doing whatever it is that your heart desires, whatever goals that you have. If this is part-time, full-time, retirement income, if this is ballet dance income, whatever this might be, I want to help get you closer to your goals so that you can have really whatever travel business of your dreams mean. You are living that in your real life as well. So links will be in the show description, but I hope that this was super helpful, and I will see you here next week.